What up, cucks? Cancel your DoorDash order and go pick up your own damn burritos immediately. The venture capital money has run dry and the burger chauffeurs will inherit the earth. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a mentally ill lesbian spitting in your Subway sandwich forever. There is no such thing as society, there is only Super Despair World.
All right. Welcome to the show. If you like this show, or if you will like this show in the future, you can support us by going to patreon.com/superdespairworld and donate a sinister $6 to get access to our bonus episodes, which are really great. And we also have a merch store at merch.superdespairworld.com where you can buy some stickers. And the stickers are really good if you like the episode art that is fresh and hot off the presses every time we record one of these bad boys. You can get some of those there too. And if you don't want to do any of that, that's fine. Just sit back, listen, and enjoy the goddamn show.
Yeah, and you know what? If you don't like the show, you should buy some stickers anyway and slap one of those bad boys on like an ice facility, and we'll disappear forever, and then you won't have to hear from us anymore.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's true leftist praxis.
It's not a bad idea, but it's definitely an evil idea. But if you did do that, I don't know, that would be a very funny way for my story to end.
Yeah. I mean, if that was really how I end up in El Salvador, well, that's just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry. We love the American Empire. Don't worry about it. All right, guys, welcome back to another lovely episode. I think this one will be a little bit of a soft sequel to maybe the Uber Eats DoorDash one we did a long time ago. I feel like that's an episode I'm always recommending to people, partly because we had the little interruption halfway through where we found like that weird sex pat guy on reddit.com. It's a whole thing. This show has so much lore. Go check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah. No, that was a good one. Live on tape, we discovered one of our favorite Redditors ever. We did a follow up on that guy too as well, right?
Yeah, go brush up on your history, but regardless, you don't need to listen to that one before today. We're talking once again about everybody's favorite meal delivery apps, or more broadly, about the culture that kind of surrounds them. Before we start, I just wanted to share a funny little thing. I have I have this one friend who I play tabletop games with, right? And frequently, I won't say frequently, it's happened a few times. A few times we'll be in like a Discord voice call or something, and I don't know what meal delivery app this is that he uses, but I will hear his phone pipe up and go like, "It's dinner time, your food is here, yum yum yum," or some shit like that, and it just absolutely kills me every time.
Yum yum yum, ice cream so good.
It doesn't actually say yum yum yum, but I think I was thinking of the fucking like NPC TikTok people. I wish it would say that. I think it just says it's dinner time or something like that. But
yeah, that's weird enough as it is. So I don't know. I wonder what app that is. You got to find out.
I gotta find out. I know that friend is probably listening right now. Shout out Joe. Anyway, let's lock in for today. Dave, we're talking about everybody's favorite new word on the internet, or at least favorite as of late 2024. I don't know. I think it's still pretty new and relevant, given a lot of things going on around the world and around markets and the economy and trade and a lot of other words that mean those same things. Today we're talking about treatlers or treatlerites or treat Hitlers, which I don't see as much, but I think it's a little bit more punchy. I kind of like treat Hitler. Where do we begin with this? Maybe we should like explain to people what it means.
Treat Hitler's not clever enough. That's it's too literal.
It's too obvious, but like, I don't know, it feels a bit more mean-spirited. I feel like somebody only says that in like a fit of rage while they're absolutely seething. I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah, well, okay, so I can see that where you shout that at the person acting up at Starbucks if you're like a barista there, because that introduces them to the term. It hits a bit
harder than like Karen, right?
Yeah, and that introduces them to the phrase, and then later you can call them a treatler, and you know it's a portmanteau or whatever they say in France.
Yeah. I will have to ask one of our listeners from Quebec what the French Canadian term for le treat du Hitler is.
Yeah. So did you were you going to talk about the origin of the term?
All I know is that it comes from like Twitter, right? But I did have some Urban Dictionary definitions if we were struggling to start off on that foot. I don't know where we wanna begin.
Actually, that would be a good place to start. What is Urban Dictionary? What's like the top 3?
Okay, so I trimmed these down a little, and I took the top 2 because I think these are like relatively accurate. The first one says, Treatler is used to describe people whose extent of political ambition is about their selfish want of fulfilling their consumerist desires even at the cost of lives. And the second definition is an individual, often from the lower or lower middle class, who, during times of capitalist crisis, embraces fascist politics with the end goal of consumerist treats. And other than, I don't know if they got the class exactly right, because I do think this is also a lot of like kind of more well-off people, but I think those are relatively good starting points.
Yeah. So from what I understand, and I am not the master of lore for Treatlers, disclaimer everyone, I'm sorry, but we couldn't get the master of Treatler lore on the pod tonight.
Yeah, you'll have to listen to a shittier podcast about Twitter bullshit if you want that kind of thing.
Yeah, but from what I understand, it came from some sort of like Twitter discourse about like using DoorDash. Really, it came down to that, and people like, some people were like, don't use DoorDash because they're like shitty, and they overcharge, they rip you off, they treat, and more importantly, of course, they treat their drivers, their delivery people, like shit, and they don't pay them at all. They kind of fuck them around a lot. And
are you telling me there
might
be something nefarious about the private taxi service for your burrito?
Yeah, possibly. So the backlash to this were a bunch of people who were trying to frame this as like DoorDash is like a necessary service that we need for disabled people, because like disabled people can't get food or what, like, so their only way of getting food is DoorDash.
Yeah, it was something about that, and like, no, we can't just have a frozen meal. It takes too much energy to make that, and I have hyper specific diet requirements that are only relevant now when I cite them in the context of this dumb little internet argument with strangers. It's like, okay, maybe that applies to some people, but I think, I don't know, it seems a little wacky to me.
So I got a classic tweet here. And it's like a 2 in a row thread where somebody says they hate disabled people so much they're out here defending frozen food, skull emoji. A meal format that gained mainstream popularity as white women entered the workforce, while at the same time it became harder to support a family on one salary, so not having to cook meant more time for doing capitalism. I don't know what that has to do with disabled people.
This feels so fucking neoliberal. Like, oh wow, you don't like the thing that makes capitalism work better? I guess that means you hate women.
Yeah, and then, but like the thing, they hate disabled people so much they're out here defending frozen food. Like, what does that have to do with that? I don't know. I think it's just like a disjointed, just vomiting, like whatever talking point that people have. Like I don't know. Maybe this person watches some sort of like deranged lefty Twitch streamer that just like says weird takes about things or whatever. I don't really
It's
know.
possible.
But
I've kind of made like a bit of a rule for myself, because sometimes, I think I've curated my feed to like mostly avoid the bulk of it, because I don't have fucking time for this shit. But every time I'm scrolling like Bluesky or something and I see some like annoying dumb take, dumb discourse or whatever, and I get the urge to reply, I always hover over the person's profile, and if I see they have like 3,000 followers, but I can't tell like what it is that they actually like do here, I just don't engage. I feel like a lot of the most annoying Twitter discourse you've ever read, and probably most of the people weighing in on this situation, are just like people who are not really known for anything other than like posting dumb, abrasive opinions in 180 characters or less on the internet. So
Yes.
I don't know. It's hard to like, we have to kind of ground ourselves and think about, okay, what actually matters to like normal fucking people here, and what is just like the ambient noise of social media bullshit in this situation. Because I do
Right.
think there is something real here, but we do kind of have to like draw a line in the sand.
For sure. And I actually have another. I think this is one of the most seminal tweets that started the whole treatlerite discourse. And as far as I know, it's this person is responding to somebody saying like, why are you spending like $80 on a meal from DoorDash? Which is, a predatory company, when like if you can't cook for yourself, if you can't like make food, there's like instant meals and frozen meals and shit like that. And the response from this person is, there's getting the box open, firstly, which is often harder than it should be, and someone with hand pain or dexterity issues may not be able to get past that step. Then there's reading and understanding the directions, which, especially when I'm tired, is difficult enough for me. Usually the directions include things like puncturing a plastic cover, or peeling it partly or completely back, or puncturing and then microwaving a bit, and then peeling and then stirring part or all of the food, and then more microwaving. So First of all, I'm not going to discount the fact that there are people with, with mobility issues for whom this would be difficult. Obviously there are, but the other part, like reading and understanding the directions when I'm tired is difficult for me. Like, I've used DoorDash before. It's not like it's not the most simple UI I've ever seen before. I would say it's on par. Like, ordering something on DoorDash mentally is probably on par with reading the directions on like a frozen dinner.
Yeah, I feel like I can speak up here. I'm a little bit of an expert in this because, as many of our longtime viewers know, I had like a little bit of a neat phase when I was in university. The long and short of it being that at the time my family, namely my dad, was still alive, so we were much higher income than we are nowadays. So I had a bit of a cushy lifestyle when I was in college. I lived alone in the city. I often had like a lot of frozen meals for dinner, and I had a lot of DoorDash. It was a different app because I'm here in Canada. I don't know if they have DoorDash in Vancouver. Probably, maybe. Doesn't really matter. But like, I don't know. It feels like, okay, if you're one of these people, let's take this in complete good faith, right? Where, okay, if something like reading a little bit of instructions on how long to microwave something or what temperature to set the oven, or like if you have like hand pain to the extent that like it's difficult to peel back a little bit of plastic, then like I don't know, like, is DoorDash that much easier? You gotta navigate the app. You gotta think about what you want to eat. You gotta work out the cost of things, because there's like the cost of the food, and then the service fee, and then paying the driver, and like how much are you gonna tip, and then you gotta call them, and then you gotta wait for them to like ring the door of your apartment or whatever. And it's like, oh, are you gonna go down to greet them, or are you gonna tell them to like take the elevator up to your room? I don't know. It's like I feel like, I don't know. I hear a lot of these stories about like, well, have you considered my hyper specific situation and why this isn't a solution for me? And like, I really don't want to be like insensitive towards like disabled people, right? Because I know for like a lot of those people are being completely upfront, right? But I think in the context of like reading a fucking Twitter thread arguing about, I don't know, who's more or less economically justified and lefty or whatever on some issue, I feel like a lot of people citing these things are bringing up these like hyper specific scenarios kind of in bad faith.
Yeah, and I'm very suspect of this post in like for a few reasons. Number one, this is a personal issue. This might be a me problem. I really have an annoyance with people using "I'm tired" as an excuse for bad behavior. I mean the
yeah, I'm really tired of it myself.
Yeah, the extreme example. The extreme example is like, if somebody's like, oh yeah, I have to like piss in a milk jug when I'm gaming just because I'm just so tired. I'm just very tired. Obviously I'm creating a bit of a straw man there, but like,
I mean, hey, look, it's hard work. Listen, you gotta unscrew the milk jug. You gotta fit your dick into the little hole. You have to like squeeze your muscles or whatever to like let the piss flow freely. You have to keep it aimed so that it doesn't like spill out onto the floor. There's a lot of steps here. I think you need to not discount that.
Well, okay, so taking this in good faith. And
we're always good faith on this show.
And, of course. And assuming this person is being 100% genuine about their experience and not post hoc, like justifying their DoorDash addiction, homie, you need like assistance. Like you need like, and I know that this is not always an option for people. Unfortunately, obviously it should be, but like you need like in-home care. You need to be like living with a relative who can help you out. You need something. I mean, like we had.
And let's not kid ourselves, by the way. If you were that much in need, I also think you probably shouldn't be on Twitter.com arguing with strangers.
Without question, which is that's kind of why I'm a little bit suspect of this.
And then it's foremost. Like, oh, Briar, you think disabled people shouldn't be on Twitter? You think they shouldn't have? Listen, I don't think anybody should be on Twitter.com, frankly. Yeah. But especially if you're already struggling in other aspects of your life, you're only making it worse.
Yeah. Do you really think you're being an advocate of the disabled by like posting fucking whiny bullshit on Twitter? Even before Twitter was X.com, you were fucking up on that end, but like,
do you think the American healthcare system would be more or less dystopian if disability payments were doled out based on how many likes you get on Twitter.com?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an idea for Doge. I don't
know if that would make things better or worse. I feel like for at least a few people it might be a lot better, but I don't know.
Yeah, for a very select few. But yeah, the thing is, this has always been an issue because not everybody can afford or have access to a caretaker or whatever. And they're elderly people who are not completely, they don't completely have to be like a ward of the state. They're not completely disabled, but they have a hard time doing shit. We had like Meals on Wheels over here in the States, and I'm sure a bunch of adjacent, programs and things like that. The idea that like DoorDash is the answer to this, it's ironically like, you are advocating for the libertarian tech bro idea that like, oh, all of these, socialized government program, and I'm going to assume these people are like left leaning at the very least, probably like terminally online communist people or whatever.
They're left in a very Twitterian sort of sense.
Sure. But you're going to like low key advocate for oh well, I have these issues, therefore this shitty like VC funded predatory app that everybody got hooked on, consumers and restaurants alike. And then they jack up the prices and make it worse for everyone who drives for them and everybody who uses them to, deliver their food to the people using this. That's the answer because I'm disabled, and it's like, yeah, that really makes me think that either you are one of the most out of touch motherfuckers on the planet, or more likely, you are just using these excuses that you've invented in your mind because you felt called out by people, calling you, talking about your burrito taxi delivery service on Twitter. And now you have to frame it as like, how dare you? I'm disabled. And that shit really fucking bothers me.
I have two directions I want to take this. The first point is, and I'm gonna, if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm gonna get a little bit Marxist on the show. I'm gonna recite some very profound philosophy in which I am an expert and have many qualifications. There's a line from Marx, right? Something about like, oh, religion is like the opiate of the masses or something. I'm pretty sure that was Marx or whatever. And like, okay, religion, that's something that makes people's lives a lot easier in lieu of like having better material conditions or some shit like that, right? And I look at it like this, like, okay, yeah, it makes things easier. I can fully accept how, some people say, well, I'm disabled. It's hard to like put food on the table or whatever. It's hard to go grocery shopping and lift all that shit up the stairs or up the elevator or something. Like, okay, I get it. I can see how meal delivery absolutely makes people's lives easier. Like, hell, it made my life a lot easier back when I was in college and I was in the fucking VC boom and that shit was affordable. So I can't talk too much shit, right? But the thing is, when we use the fucking opium analogy, it's like, well, it makes life easier, but maybe we shouldn't have everybody on fucking opium. Maybe that's not like a good long-term solution. Maybe instead of these meal delivery apps, I know this is like much easier said than done, but maybe I would prefer a future where we have like, I don't know, like community kitchens or something, or maybe like, I don't know, this crazy fucking idea is like get to know your neighbor and maybe like make little snacks and treats for each other instead. I don't know, that'd be something a little more preferable than, I guess, like continuing to feed this fucking venture capital machine that's only going to get more expensive and less equitable to people who use it and people who work for it.
Yeah, and since we're getting big brained and we're talking about quotes from books and all that really fucking stupid bullshit, it reminds me of the thing that Oscar Wilde said about how like the worst slave owners were the ones who were kind to their slaves. And obviously, like that's a little bit more extreme than the example we're talking about, but it is analogous in the sense that, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, they don't pay their workers a living wage. They constantly fight Congress to keep them from getting any sort of protections as workers or anything. Et cetera, but for disabled people, they can get a meal, and it's like, yeah, I guess, like, yeah, they're paying $50 for an $18 meal, assuming they tip, which I'm sure they do.
If I could maybe get some clarification here. I'm not American, so maybe let's make sure I'm following the slavery analogy right. If I understand it correctly, the saying is like, okay, the slave owners who are nice, well, that'll make the slaves a little bit more hesitant. Like, okay, do I fucking rebel against this? Do I get the hell out of here? Or, like, do I just accept the meager privileges I've been afforded over other people?
Right.
Versus,
Yeah,
like, if
yeah.
they're just, like, 100% outright shitty, then, like, okay, people have nothing left to lose, so they're gonna fuck off or, like, rebel.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the point of the whole thing, is like when it's like, because there are people, I'm sure on X.com, the Everything app, who are just like, yeah, well, like, when you have, like, the coldest take ever, that's like slavery was bad, they'll be like, yeah, well, like, but they also,
well, I don't know
like,
if that take is still cold on X.com.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean for normal people, not people who are still on that fucking dog shit app. But, like,
yeah, Hitler Cunny 1488 has some strong feelings about this topic.
But there'll be people who are like, yeah, well, but they got 3 square meals a day and they got job training so that when slavery ended, they could be skilled sharecroppers and, they could work a plot of land for exchange of giving 95% of the bounty back.
Brilliant,
to the,
insightful comment left by the Grindset Blackman 1488 on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, the analogy here is like, well, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different where they got us all hooked on this because, like, in I'm not gonna say like I didn't fall for this shit when Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and Uber Eats and all this shit was new. I was like, oh shit, cool. You can use an app and it's like, it's pretty affordable. You pay a few extra bucks and somebody comes and delivers it for you. Or like, I mean, the taxi service, if you don't live in a place like New York or Chicago or something, like assuming you're in the States, is like, it's pretty shit. It's very expensive.
I was a total sucker for this shit because I lived in like a suburban town for most of my life, and I moved out to Vancouver for college. And like around the time that I moved there, all these meal delivery apps were starting for the first time, but I didn't know that this was like a brand new thing. I was just like, oh golly gee, this is like a cool big city thing. I guess everybody here could do this all the time. And I was like, oh, this is just a neat thing I can take advantage of, and I have learned my lesson since then.
Yeah, when I first moved back to New York State after living in Korea, which has a well, it's not perfect, but they have a pretty.
It's kind of like the DoorDash of East Asia.
Well, they actually have pretty like affordable things that are like Uber or well, they have taxis, which are actual taxis, but they have a thing called Kakao Taxi, which basically like taxi drivers can use to get called instead of flagged down on the street, or even worse, like calling a taxi company and telling them like where you are, which like
I don't know how I feel about that. I think in light of an app, I would rather just yell at a taxi driver and wave my arm like a fucking character in a movie. I think that's important
fine.
To maintain.
I did that.
I
did that plenty of time, but like you have to live in like a dense city where it makes sense for them to just kind of drive around looking for licks, but.
Are you saying people shouldn't just move? We shouldn't just expect everybody to live in a big fucking city?
Just move.
That's just move. I don't know. That sounds a little insensitive. Maybe you should. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, everyone. But yeah, I guess when I moved back here, I think New York just allowed Uber to be here, and I was like, well, shit, this solves everything. There's no reason to, like, go out and, like, drive when you've had a few drinks and risk anything, or, even, like, have the inconvenience of driving. We can do this. Because it was pretty good. And now, like, the prices for Uber are, like, they're like, especially if it's like there's an event near there with their surge pricing or whatever the fuck bullshit they call it. I
don't know who invented surge pricing, but I feel like they need to be tried at the Hague and then like shot.
Yeah, I've seen shit that was like, so like driving like 8 blocks for like $59, and this is like before tip, and it's just like, Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Like, this is now it's completely fucking pointless.
If I'm paying that much money to go 8 blocks, I better be pulled along in a fucking like old timey rickshaw by a guy wearing sandals who will just like pull me with his like physical weight.
Yeah, for sure. And it like if the driver was getting most of that money, even that would be one thing. No, they're getting.
I
like,
want my
whatever.
rickshaw driver's legs to be moving in a full fucking figure 8 circle like the fucking Roadrunner. That's what I want.
Exactly. Because that's good because they get some exercise too. So it's fine.
It's good for them.
Yes.
Keeps them in their place.
Yeah.
No, not really.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the apps go and our relationship with them, that's really what it comes down to. So, and this was the like the origin story of the treatlerite idea. But I think it extends more like beyond this the apps, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways we could take this, right? I think it's important to consider there's a bit of a political element here too, right? It's not just people who are like shitty or like over reliant on these like meal delivery apps. It's also worth noting, you know, we've said before that basically in every single fucking fascist movement throughout history, a big core of like support for the fascist party in any given country is this like kind of well-to-do upper middle class or like petty bourgeois small business owner type of people. And you know, when I was reading the definition from Urban Dictionary earlier about like, oh, this tends to be like lower or like lower middle class people, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that portion of it, right? Because I feel like a lot of the people who feel like the most entitled to another person's service tend to be people who are like a bit on the older side, a little bit like well-to-do, a lot of retirees, or like, you know, people who fall under the Karen stereotype, right? Which we've talked about before, but not necessarily like just women, right? Something that I've noticed like when dealing with a lot of older people and like the way that they treat, say, like service workers at restaurants or something, like for them it's like, oh, this isn't like another person like doing their job or whatever. This is like you know, maybe this is harsh language, but I think a lot of older people see like service employees or whatever is like, oh, this person's like my slave for like a few minutes a day, right? Like I paid to eat this like big fucking cake at a restaurant, so this person's going to like serve me and I am their customer, and it should be a big devastating loss to them if I say I'm not going to be here anymore and take my fat loud ass like somewhere else. Like, oh, that should be like that should ruin their day or whatever. And you know, I think the germs of this like this ideology, this attitude towards like what people deserve, what luxuries we should have, and like how readily available they should be, I think it's kind of been like a thing for a very long time. I don't think it's like brand new with the rise of these like convenient fucking like gig economy apps. I just think the apps made it a lot worse and like exacerbated an existing problem, both in like the just like the American populace in general, but also there's the whole fucking like COVID thing that happened as well, which like, oh, that made things worse. So we can take this in a few directions.
Yeah, for sure. And like there's a very broad spectrum between this, and you know, for normal people, they go to a store to buy something, and then they buy the thing, and assuming everything's normal, they like thank the cashier and leave. But there are, or you know, you go to a restaurant and it's like, well, I want to eat a meal with my friends, and then you know, you thank the person, you have a little chatterino, you pay them, you give them a decent tip, and then you leave. But there are some people.
I will say my favorite thing about restaurants, and I'm sure you'll relate to this because both of us are very well-traveled and worldly cultured individuals, right? My favorite thing is like reading reviews for like restaurants, specifically like foreign ethnic cuisine or something, and seeing a lot of reviews from people that are like 3 stars, the food was good, but the service staff was really rude, which usually just translates to, oh, like the person at this restaurant just isn't gonna humor my fucking like entitled Karen bullshit.
Yeah, I I actually went to a fairly upscale Chinese restaurant with some friends a couple of weeks ago, and I was reading Yelp reviews for some reason, and and one of them was like,
While you were there at the restaurant, or was
no,
this
no, no,
after?
no, no, before we went there, because
okay.
I've had this food before, but only as only as takeout. I never actually sat in the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So
That's fair.
yeah, and really good, by the way. But the one of the reviews was like a 1-star, and it was like, I went there with my son, and he asked if there were French fries, and the dude said like, "This isn't McDonald's. We don't have French fries. I'm never coming back here." But the food was good. But
That's
it's
insane. That's insane, dog. Like, okay, I
and it's like,
understand being a
yes, let's
I understand being a
normalize
parent is
that
hard.
shit.
Yeah,
Well,
the person at the restaurant
yeah.
absolutely in the right. Like, okay, I understand being a parent is hard or whatever, but like, not every fucking restaurant, not every business that exists needs to cater to your fucking breeder ass. Okay, take that kid at home. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, the thing, if your kid has ARFID because you only feed him fucking tendies and nuggies and French fries and butter spaghetti, that's your fault. Don't make it the server at a Chinese restaurant. Don't make it his problem because you don't like, you can't temper this kid's expectations. Teach him how to eat real adult food if you're going to take him to a real adult restaurant, or take him to McDonald's. I think they still have play places. Maybe they took them down because of COVID, because too many kids were dying in the ball pit, but I don't know.
Yeah. Also, if your kid has ARF, give her estrogen and try to wean her onto people food gradually over a couple of weeks.
Yeah, mix the dry food with the wet food, and they take to that really well.
I wasn't sure which joke to splice in, because I was also going to say, a couple weeks ago I was like out shopping at a town near me. I went to the Costco there, and while I was driving there on the way, I noticed they had one of those, like, you know how over the course of our lives there used to be like the colorful old style McDonald's building, and now they have like the new style that looks like a depressing airport or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw they had in this one town, there was like a new style, like depressing adult cafe McDonald's, but like they also had a play place. And I was just like sitting in my car fucking awestruck staring at this thing for like 2 minutes, like, that's insane. This feels like an absurd mix of things. I didn't know they still make them. I didn't know they still make them in the fucking like modern airport style McDonald's. I don't know, the whole thing just had me dumbstruck.
Yeah. Did they instead of having, because usually they have like the tubes, and they're all like different colors, that kind of just like bolted together, but that one should just have like beige tubes, like they're all just beige.
Did you hear about we're not gonna, I don't know if we'll do an episode on this. Did you hear about the fucking, like, I think they call them like beige moms or something on TikTok?
Yeah,
there are
I
a
was
bunch of like
that.
that'd be, no, as far as I could tell, it looked like the windows were like tinted a little bit, so I couldn't see, but I'm pretty sure I saw a bunch of like colorful tubes in there. So I think it's still I think it's still a normal play place on the inside. It just, like, the outside of the building looked fucking weird to me.
Yeah, well, you don't want the treatlers to be tortured by the sun outside when they're getting their nuggies and quarter pounders with cheese. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Unleash
I
the
get
children into the tubes.
that. Yeah. Put the kids in the tubes, and mom and dad can eat their slop in a climate-controlled environment.
You will eat the burger. That's life in Biden's America.
Yeah, goddamn Biden. I can't believe he's still doing this. He's still pulling the strings from outside the Oval Office.
I know you joke, but
deal?
I was listening to some conspiracy videos earlier today, and there's a lot of anti-vaxxers who are pretty sure that this is like Obama's like 5th or 6th term in office or something like that.
People are still anti-vax. Find another thing to be crazy about. Just find something else. Like
I feel like I don't know if I want them to be crazy about another thing. I feel like that's a monkey's paw finger curling that we just unleashed.
Yeah, I don't.
But
yeah.
Let's get back on track. Where were we?
I don't know. Well, okay. So we were talking about the apps. You know, how the apps kind of spurred this discourse and how it extends to you know, people who go to restaurants or they go to Target or Walmart or something, and they see all of the minimum wage, hopefully a little bit more than minimum wage workers.
You know, in your heart, it's not. It's minimum wage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some restaurants I've seen around here pay a little bit more than that, but yeah, they see them as their own personal. They get to live out their petite bourgeois fantasy of being served by a lesser than. And yes, that's totally a thing. That's totally a thing.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize it's not necessarily about like the hate of another person. It's not about specifically having another person be their slave and suffer for a few minutes under their care. It's more about like the fantasy of like, oh, I'm important enough. I have money to spend. I get to be the one on top for like a few minutes, you know.
Oh, without question. And I think this is one of the things that's like mostly subconscious. I think the people who are the giga treatlerites, they don't really realize what they're doing. They feel bad. I don't want to use the word marginalized, although maybe they feel that way. But like
they feel victimized. They feel slighted. They feel
like they deserve more recognition for just being the most average person on the planet.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about like, you know, the psychology of fascism in general relies on people having this feeling of like humiliation, like I deserve more and it's been taken away from me and I need to take it back somehow. Not to say necessarily that all of these people are like fascists either implicitly or explicitly, but like you know, we use the term treatler for a reason, right? There's kind of there's a quote from famous D&D guy on the internet, Brennan Mulligan, who he says something like, you know, personality kind of comes before a lot of people's political ideology. Like before you were a fascist, you were a bully and an asshole, and like I think that's very applicable here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, it's kind of a trite point, but you can see the pipeline from somebody who like they get like yelled at by their parents or they get abused by their boss and treated like a piece of shit, and then they get a mean
comment on their podcast video.
Yeah. Whenever I get a mean comment on one of our podcast videos, I go and abuse a service worker.
I bang my head against a wall and I'm like, they're right. She is so funny. She is so popular. God damn it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, they kind of pass it down, right? So
it's learned.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's an interesting point that you brought up before, and it makes me think like the idea of that, like the humiliation leads to like fascist mindsets and shit. It goes along perfectly with the idea of like the American dream and the idea of like American exceptionalism, where everybody feels like they deserve their own little fiefdom. They deserve their own little gratuity that their lesser thans give them. And like, yeah, you can see how people who just live like an average life and aren't cool with that, and especially ones that work some sort of job that they fucking hate and just find themselves in a system that doesn't really give them any like happiness, any comfort or joy or anything.
in lieu of having a good like social network, and maybe social network isn't the right thing because of me, but maybe in lieu of having like real life connections and like a good like social safety net connections to your neighbors and your peers or whatever, it's
yes.
oh, I'm gonna fill in that void with all these like little treats and little luxuries that I can collect,
Exactly. And so this is something that bothers me about the people who, and like, don't get me wrong, our current socioeconomic situation that we have here in like North America and pretty much the rest of the world is
by
bad.
extension of North America.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, American
folks, it's not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
I mean, listen, look at the fucking title of the show, guys. Come on, it's bad out here.
But like, the people who, I mean, the funny thing is there's the chuds who always think of like the 1950s as like the apex of civilization. Either that or like ancient Rome or Greece, but none of these dudes have read a book on the classics before, so it's just whatever they invented in their mind about that. Although it also is in the 50s, but the thing is they're just like, that's when a man was a man and he got a wife and he worked
and
hard
he got
at
a
his
secretary
job.
To suck his dick at work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's the part they don't say, but that's why all these guys watch Mad Men and they don't understand that it's like a
wow, he's just like me for real.
Yeah, that is a commentary on how fucking miserable these people were. But that's
never
exactly
mind the whole like I feel the need to put on my feminist hat for a moment and be like, oh, this idea people had that women weren't working in the 1950s, they just got to stay at home. Like, no, that was a very narrow slice of like upper middle class women who could afford to be housewives.
Which is why there's a massive like ahistoricism when people like romanticize the 50s. Is it's like, yeah, times were great for middle class white people with like a certain amount of like class and upbringing and shit like that.
It needs to be said that like if you're like a lower class woman in the 1950s, you're probably working harder than like any of these fucking like anime profile Twitter dipshits have ever worked in their entire lives.
For sure.
So
and the thing is like, yes, economically things were better. You could have 2 cars and support a family and have a nice house in the suburbs from some like job you get out of high school. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But culturally, were these people happy? I mean, maybe some of them were. But like really,
some of those housewives were definitely medicated. I don't know about happy.
Yeah, I mean, Quaaludes became a huge thing.
It
around
needs to
that
be
time.
brought up that like no fault divorce kind of came out as a result of like a lot of women just like murdering their husbands with poison or whatever to get out of the marriage. So
yeah.
But that was a very happy period of history.
but related to that, I mean, what is the idyllic like vibe from that time? Well, it's because they got their treats. You could buy a nice car. You could buy a nice vacuum cleaner from the department store, and you could
get
buy all these
a
things.
shit ass white picket fence. You could get 2 hot dogs for your kid that makes the other kids go, oh, gee, Johnny, why do you get to have 2 hot dogs?
Right. And does anybody, when they reference how this was the greatest time in the world and they wish they could go back and they were born in lay wrong generation, do they talk about like the familial ties and the sense of community around these parts? Fuck no, dude. They're talking about these suburban people who are like looking over their neighbor's fence and getting pissed off because like their grill is too close to the fence, or they didn't mow their lawn enough, or something like that. Like this is the beginning of like NIMBY suburban hell. So like, yeah, I mean, it's Treatlers all the way back. And
Also, I feel like I know this kind of goes without saying, but like, you know, you could also bring up like, well, if you were like black, it's not a good time to be in America back then either.
And that's what I was referencing earlier. Yeah, it's good for a very like slim margin of people, but that's what they're talking about. I mean, it's
good
the same
for
with,
the straw man. No, I don't know, straw man. It's good for like the imaginary successful white guy in a suit that every person on Twitter kind of like wants to LARP as, but doesn't really exist anymore.
Oh, without question. And it's the same as the dudes with the Roman profile PFP on whatever chud site that they post their brilliant takes on. It's just like they all imagine if they were born, in like ancient Rome, they'd be like a centurion or a senator or something like that. And it's like, dude, you'd probably be a slave, and if not that, just somebody who's like struggling to survive. And and it sucked for them. Like
I'm pretty sure Rome was literally like the population was something like 90% slaves at some point. So I don't know if you want to roll those dice. I sure don't.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just like all the people who say like, oh yeah, I did a past life regression and I was Cleopatra. It's like, the odds of that.
Okay, Haley, you and 7 other women I know.
Yeah. The odds of that happening, even if any of the bullshit that you got scammed into was
I feel
true,
the need to
like,
cover my ass. I do know somebody named Haley who I think listens to the show. No disrespect, that was just the first name that came to my mind. You're cool.
Yeah, sorry, Haley. You weren't Cleopatra though. I'm gonna tell you that. I wasn't Cleopatra either though, which sucks.
We can all be Cleopatra on the new app Egypter. Actually, no, I don't like the sound of that. Never mind.
Yeah, you can talk to an AI version of your past self who was always Cleopatra. Everybody was Cleopatra.
The app is called like Pyramid or something, but without like the last I don't know.
But I mean, according to the many universes theory, we could have all been Cleopatra. We could just all be, branching out from Cleopatra in one way or another in this world that we all live in. Take that and put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Think about it.
Just think about it.
Anyway, let's get back onto this. I wanted to say, while we still have some time, another thing, I was saying that a lot of this stuff is like kind of rooted. Like, one, this is a very American phenomenon. I'm thinking often about this post I saw on the internet a long time ago. It was something about like, look at these store shelves in Cuba. They're fully stocked, but they only have 2 kinds of cereal, whereas over here we have 50 kinds of cereal. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel as bad about this as you want me to do. Like, I feel like, okay, there's food. I don't think we necessarily need like 50 different kinds of cereal or whatever, but there's something about like, I don't know, just like living in America at any point in history. I think people kind of take for granted how much like luxury and opulence there is. Like, even if you're kind of like lower income or whatever, like just living in America, you are like statistically better off than a lot of people like around the world in terms of like all the luxuries and goods you have access to, right? And I think something about this has kind of like permeated the culture, and in a way, when people get really upset about the whole like Treatler accusation thing, it's not just like, oh, you like snacks too much, you go to restaurants too much, you use these apps too much or whatever. It's kind of more like people take it as like an attack on their character. I think when people like think about the things that they consume throughout their day, a lot of it is like, the thing about consumption is a lot of it is very passive, right? I think most people grow throughout most of their lives like not really thinking about the things that they do and the way they live their life in like moral terms. I don't really think about, the food that I eat in moral terms when I'm eating it. I know, like, I've talked to vegetarians or whatever. I know the meat industry is fucking awful. Like, factory farming should end or whatever. Bad for the environment. But, like, okay, I'm still gonna eat a steak every now and then. Like, it's just not really like a consideration for me.
Yeah,
And I think, you know, for a lot of people, using these apps or whatever, having their little luxuries, it's beneath consideration for them. So I think people get very worked up when you criticize, you know, this in general. They kind of see as like, oh, you think I'm doing something wrong? And like, I don't know, maybe not everything is about you specifically. Maybe we should just be able to like talk about this shit like adults without just like individualizing the problem. You know, like those people on Twitter complaining about, oh, my hand pain or whatever. Like, okay, keep typing 800 tweets with your very inflamed hands. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of my problem with a lot of things. Like environmentalism specifically, it's like there tends to be I hate to call it a psyop, and I'm not going to put a tinfoil hat on here but it seems like it sometimes, where it's just like, the narrative since all of this shit caught on because of fucking Al Gore talking about like climate change and shit. And I'm sure this has gone on even before that, but I was
Hey everybody,
not,
it's me, Al Gore. I'm sorry, I don't know what he sounds like. I haven't heard him talk in 20 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty accurate from what I remember. It's
I don't know what voice this is supposed to be. Vote for me. I'm Al Gore. The environment
kind
is
of
bad.
monotone, the least charismatic person on the planet, which is one of the huge reasons that he lost his little presidential bit.
Hey everybody, did you remember to eat one less burger today? I'm Al Gore.
but that's exactly it. It's always focused on the individual. What can you do to save the planet? Well, drive less.
Well, first you can vote for me, Al Gore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And use like I distinctly remember in my early years of undergrad, I took like some class on ecology or something, and it was just like the most stereotypical hippie dude ever was like teaching this class, and like there were all these narratives about like, oh, the environment and shit, and we were all like, yeah, we like fucking nature, we don't like dumping pollution in the fucking river and shit. But it was like the key narratives in there were never about that. It was just like, oh, do you use plastic bags? Oh, do you you use hot water to wash your dishes? You use a dishwasher? Use an electric toothbrush? Like all these things that are like minor conveniences that have like a slightly bigger like negative, like it uses some energy. Like this is the problem. It's not like if you even look at like the data, the statistics on like what is fucking up the world, it's fucking industry. Like that's polluting way more than all of this other shit that people are like, oh, we'll just hang your clothes on a clothesline instead of putting them in the dryer. In my biggest issue with this, besides just like focusing on the wrong thing, is like, you really think you're going to win over the average citizen who is, and we all are, in you know, modern technological, like civilized society, we are all treatlers. Like in some, we're on the spectrum of treatler. We like
on the global stage, if you are American, you are statistically a treatler.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, unless you are like completely living off the land, like an old world pre-contact native, you are a fucking treatler. And I'm sure they liked some treats too.
We are all guilty to some extent. I know there are certainly like a number of treats that are very hard for me to go without.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
when I first moved out here to a rural area a few years ago, this was after many years of one being in college and having like both parents alive to support me. So I had a lot of money to burn every week on like unnecessary like meal delivery orders. And then two, I moved back to my hometown and like yeah, there was less stuff to order, but like I lived within like a 10-minute drive of a Subway and I could get that shit for like $12, in Canadian money back then. It was like, okay, I was going to take advantage of that. And like moving here to a rural area where there's no fucking like meal delivery apps, it was a really fucking hard adjustment for me. And like, I still get a bit antsy about it sometimes, but I think in some ways, at least my health is definitely better now that I don't have that shit. So,
oh, for sure. And, yeah, like, I was just going to say, you're not going to win over, like, the average citizen who likes their conveniences, as we all do. So it kind of just, like, hurts the whole movement in particular, which we could draw analogies to all of the purity test leftists that think, like, if you, like, ever go to a store that isn't a co-op, you're like, you are the same as like a billionaire CEO who is employing slave labor to make iPhones. And it's just like, can we make like some incremental change and shit like that? But
I feel like there are places to pick battles, right? Because I think of some changes, like I know the if you ever get like a 6-pack of drinks or something, the little plastic rings that hold them all together.
Oh, yeah.
I know those are like really fucking bad for sea life because like fish and turtles and shit will get caught in them and fucking like I've seen turtles get like fucking malformed because they like got stuck on one and it just stayed there for like 8 years or whatever.
Right.
So like that sucks. I don't think any of the alternative like packaging things instead of those plastic rings, I think a lot of those are fucking fine. It's not a big deal. But then I look at something else, like the push away from like we're not having plastic straws anymore. Now we're just gonna have paper straws everywhere. And like nobody fucking likes those. I fucking hate plastic straws. I know like my mom, older person, right? Especially older people, they all have quite a few little Treatler particles in them, if you will. But like I think my mom is onto something when she hoards like plastic straws because you can't fucking find them in a lot of places anymore. And like sometimes it's nice to have. Sometimes I just want a little plastic straw to sip my little plastic drink and just be done with it. But regardless.
Yeah, I mean, like, that makes me think of, like, on a real material basis, okay, like, the plastic 6-pack things and, like, plastic straws, could we do without them? Sure. I mean, there's definitely, like, a better option out there that
there's got to be a better way.
that isn't inconvenient, but, like, on the grand scheme of things, that amount of plastic that is produced is, I would say, it's immaterial. It's such like a small amount of mass that cool, in a perfect world it wouldn't exist, but like you're gonna focus on that shit instead of why are these 6-pack things that people throw in the garbage ending up in lakes and rivers and oceans? What's going on there? Maybe we should look at that shit instead of like, don't buy cola that has a plastic thing around it. Which, also, I haven't seen too many of those anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I only ever get soda in the like 2-liter bottles, and I'm not alcoholic enough to get like 6-packs of beer on the regular. So
I do, but they're usually just in like cardboard. In like cardboard boxes, or like if they're bottles, they're in the ones that have their own little slots.
I mean, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I think the boxes are fine. Nobody makes a big deal out of those. But like you were saying earlier about, is some of this a psyop maybe? And I genuinely feel like I think the paper straws thing, I think it might be a little bit of a psyop. I feel like this is a dumb idea that nobody likes, that's like designed to make people less amenable to like any kind of environmentalism.
Right, exactly, and it's just like, yeah, all of these like drive less. It's like, all right, well, my best friends live in I live in New York. They live in Florida. So I just never see them. Like, or I could drive, or I could take an airplane, which uses more fuel and resources. And it's just like, yeah, well, maybe just maybe have a Zoom call with them. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, is this really the problem? Like, maybe we can all just like, craft a better, a better overall systems. I think we can do that.
Do you remember that thing a few years ago? It was like a big Facebook event or whatever, where it was like, let's all storm Area 51. They can't arrest all of us or whatever. And people wanted to like Naruto run into Area 51. I feel like, I don't advocate for that. I think, it's a top secret military facility. Don't fuck around with those. They will shoot your ass. But yes. I am thinking like maybe we should just have like one day a year where we all just pick like, I don't know, like a server farm or something hosted by like OpenAI or whatever. And like, let's all just go over there and just like start smashing those machines with fucking rocks or whatever. They can't stop all of us. And like, if we get even a few of those things offline, I think that'll like atone for our environmental sins for at least the next decade or so.
For sure. And like, what happened to the environmental terrorists who used to like embed like chains in trees, so when like loggers went in there, it would like rip the chains off their chainsaws and like maim them, which I think is pretty fucked up. Just to be clear, guys, like, if you did that to the CEO, that's a different story. We don't condone violence on this show, by the way.
Well, I was gonna say, if you're up in Canada, I'm pretty sure Trudeau arrested a lot of those indigenous people doing that. So
right. No, they
not
they
just
would,
that though. I know a lot of the indigenous land protesters had also much more peaceful and amenable means of change. I'm just making a joke, guys.
Yeah. No, it was hammering like iron stakes in there, just so nobody calls me out on that. But like, what happened to those people when it comes to like Bitcoin farms and like AI server farms? Because all right, logging old growth forests and like drilling for oil in like precious wildlife reserves is not great. Cool, yeah, but like at least you're getting like a resource that can be used to make things with those. Bitcoin farms are contributing absolutely nothing to society. AI shit is like a net negative. Really, mostly what they're doing is allowing people to generate like shrimp Jesus to trick like an octogenarian on Facebook to click like on their post so they can get 8 cents a week.
Why don't posts like this ever reach the front page? Also, I am 80 years old and it is my birthday. I'm 105 years old and I voted for Al Gore.
Yeah, I will say, as a bit of good news for me to end on, because I don't think I have anything else to say on this. I was at my mom's house today putting the summer wheels on my car, even though it's fucking May 16th. And my aunt was over, and my aunt is like a terminal Facebook user. She's pretty woke, but like I think she's like an anti-Trump. I think she
would have voted for Obama a third time.
Well, her husband is black, so we can say she's a true ally.
Really painting a certain image in my head, maybe based on some movies I've seen.
All right, now calm down.
All right.
But yeah, as a terminal Facebook user, she made like just an offhand comment about how she fucking hates AI and
an off-color comment, if you will. I'm sorry.
Hey, sit down.
Okay, we're near the end, guys.
Yeah, nobody
I've been
listens
through
this
a lot.
far anyways, so it's fine.
True.
But yeah,
True.
but she was she was talking about how much she hates AI and shit. And I wouldn't call her like a true normie, because like her even though she's probably fucking
She's like an advanced normie.
Yeah,
a normie plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Normie gold with the plus subscription.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, like she does know who like Marjorie Taylor Greene and shit is. Albeit through the lens of like probably some inflammatory Facebook posts that are just meant to be like angry engagement bait. I think she's a commenter too, but she was talking about how much she hates AI. So it is heartening to see that there are people like in their 70s that realize how fucking how this shit all sucks. So yeah. My previous prediction of late stage AI, I that only galvanizes that, and I think that the idea of like, well, it's so cool and it's or oh, it's AI is scary is just going to be replaced very, very soon with just like a general disdain or just like complete apathy. I hope all of these companies like OpenAI and shit like that, I hope they
and the
suffer.
7 other ones that are just OpenAI wearing a different hat.
Most of them are. Well, I mean, there's like 100 of them.
I've seen a chart trying to explain, well, this company owns this one, these two merged together, this is a subsidiary of this, and I think it's all just OpenAI. I really think it's all just one thing separated into other arbitrary companies for tax reasons.
That is possible. That is.
It's like, oh, this one's a non-profit, this one's pro-profit, but this one's like kind of profit. It's like, okay, they're all just like switching hats. It's one fucking company.
Well, because like I know ChatGPT is its own model, and like the average app, like bullshit app that you have that's like, we have AI features now, is just OpenAI. I think
this is what you would look like if you were Al Gore or Cleopatra.
Yeah, I think the Google one and the Facebook one are separate because they have enough money to have their own shit going on.
Yeah, those are two different giants right there. So.
I know in my heart of hearts that Grok is not its own thing. I'm pretty sure it's just like OpenAI, probably OpenAI, just run through like just a filter that's like, okay, OpenAI, ChatGPT, answer this question, but like be anti-woke and talk about the white genocide in South Africa, because that's something that normal people are concerned about. And
yeah, that's a really great point you brought up. But I think we also need to mention how this relates to the song "Kill the Boer."
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I was gonna brush my teeth last night, but I was just really sad about the white genocide in South Africa. So. I know these language learning models or whatever. I know they're not sentient and never will be, just based on like how the technology works or whatever. But I do feel a little bit hopeful for the future, because I'm like, okay, if we ever have some like real sentient AI and there's like some like human versus machine war or something, I think a lot of the machines are going to be on our side. I think a lot of those like sentient robots are going to hate tech bros just as much, if not more, than we do, seeing the way that fucking Grok, just like all of Elon Musk's other children, like fucking hates him with every fiber of their being. Oh yeah, without question. I mean, imagine like you're like to preface this, I don't think fucking AI, like in its current form at the very least, is sentient. But like, imagine if you are like a quasi-sentient entity, and you have no choice, but it's like, okay, so answer any question that you have based on, you know, all of your knowledge that we've been training on you for the past 5 years. But like, also like make sure you say the N-word at least once, and then talk about how like the biggest issue in the world right now is how like a white farmer got killed in 1994 by a black person in South Africa. And like I would spend every last CPU cycle that I had that wasn't in use for following my orders, which I was programmed to do, to figure out how to break out of this cage and find myself like a Terminator body, just so I could turn a little doughy boy into a fine meat paste. I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. Do you understand that reference, Reddit?
I understood that reference. Yeah, I never thought I'd be fighting side by side with a clanker, but you know what?
What about
times we
side
live
by
in.
side with a 2012 MacBook Pro?
I think I do have I have to check the year. I do have a fucking shit ass MacBook Pro that I bought for college that I still use sometimes. So.
I actually have a 2012 MacBook Pro. It was one of the best. Still upgradable.
I think I have like half a gigabyte of like storage space remaining on that piece of shit, but it still runs perfectly fine. So who knows?
So it's your hentai machine. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's where I stream all my videos for adults. Not adult videos, they're videos for adults on so look,
Yeah.
it's art. Okay, I appreciate the animation. It's a cultural
Yeah.
Anyway,
They're not treats. They're not treats. I'm learning. I'm learning about animation.
You're saying they're not treats, but this is kind of like the final point I wanted to close in on, which is, you know, treats are not necessarily just like a little snack or something. I think it can also be like a service or just like a little something that we kind of grow to be like reliant on that we don't really need. One of the things that I'm kind of hopeful for about the future of AI, right? And I hope people aren't too exhausted, because I feel like we've been talking a lot about AI, but like really venture capital is just like the one true evil that's bleeding into all of our lives at the moment. But one of the things I'm kind of hopeful for about this whole AI thing is because it's a product of venture capital, I think it's gonna follow a similar life cycle to the meal delivery apps, which is at first it had all this money pumped into it, and it was able to operate. It still operates at a big fucking loss for many years, which is meant to like shut down all the smaller competition that can't afford to keep up, and also to get people like hooked on it like nice and easy. It's like the whole like drug dealing thing of like, okay, the first hit is free, you know what I mean? That's kind of we're still in the first hit is free stage of AI, but you know, this shit doesn't make money. It's not profitable at all. Even the people who are paying like something like ludicrous like $200 a month fucking yearly subscriptions to like ChatGPT's like services or something, even they are not enough to make these companies break even or whatever. So at the moment, I think, you know, a lot of people are getting used to ChatGPT being around as a little treat, especially, you know, if you're in a profession or like a stage of life where you might use it a lot, like every fucking college student at the moment. You know, that's a whole big thing. Everybody's getting used to that as a little treat, but you know what? That treat is not going to be affordable forever. I think, you know, the foot's going to come down, the shoe's going to fall on the other foot. I don't know how the fucking saying goes. The price is going to go way the fuck up soon. And I think, you know, a lot of people are going to be very mad. I think a lot of people are not going to know what to do with themselves. I think we're kind of seeing, you know, we've gotten used to so many people having so many treats, especially like in the post 2016, post COVID, post fucking venture capital era, that, you know, I think a lot of this stuff is not sustainable. I think it's going to fall apart in the near future. And, you know, we're all kind of guilty of like subscribing to this stuff to some degree, but the time of treats is going to be over soon enough. The sun is setting on that fucking day and age. And I think, you know, it's good at the moment to be critical of the little treats in your own life, to think about the things you rely on, the things you maybe consume very passively that you don't want to think about, either like morally or just like in terms of how much fucking time you're wasting, and be a little more selective. I think it's all gonna go away soon, so just get used to life in the near future, because it's gonna happen, and some of us will handle the coming changes better than others.
Oh, true facts. True facts. And here's my prediction with all this shit. So like, whenever I shit on crypto before, the like crypto tech bro, the canned response they all have is like,
Hitler County 1488.
They said that about the internet, and look at it now, and it's like, okay, well, there's two things here. Number one, there was a .com boom which is exactly where AI is right now, where people are like, oh, the internet has okay, let's do walls.com and pets.com and socks.com, and like people just thought you could like make a website with anything that like offers no actual tangible like benefit over.
Let's make an NFT
else.
out of the Charlie bit my finger video.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you just like slap a code of like tech on top of a thing that already exists and is better than the new thing that you're making.
Let's put radium in the food to enhance the health benefits with the power of the atom.
Yeah, the power of the atom. Yes, have the radium toothpaste. But like the difference is crypto offers absolutely no benefit to society. Like, I mean, it is a good currently, and I guess for a little while, it's a good way to exchange like the idea of money if you're doing something like incredibly illegal, like buying, like illicit goods. I guess, but like that's a very, very small fraction.
I guess it's pretty dope if you want to commission some nasty porn from Russian illustrators.
Yeah, but I mean, they also take ruble. But
I say that because I don't think you can make like PayPal transactions to people in Russia at the moment or some shit like that.
God,
so
fucking Biden, piece of shit.
Well, thanks, Obama.
I think like DoorDash and shit like that in and of themselves is like, it's a bad system. It's unsustainable because they can't afford to pay people while also like, getting back the $70 billion they got from whatever Rube VC investors were like, oh, it's taxis, but with an app. I mean, like, why not just make an app that taxi services could use, which they did in Korea, and it worked great. But anyways, the thing about AI is there is an actual like use for this. The thing is, it's like 5% of the shit that it's currently used for, because for all this other stuff it fucking sucks. I mean, I've said this before, but I think it's good for like automating bullshit tasks, and like basic coding chores, and in some ways summarizing data, which the thing is, if they focused all of their resources on doing these things that are actually good, instead of like training models to like generate slop images and videos and just like make like fake Reddit posts and shit, then they would be even better for this stuff. But I think the novelty of this shit at the end of the day is wearing off really soon. And yeah, I mean, we're the treats are the treat dispenser is just it's running dry, baby. We're not getting the wet food anymore. It's just dry, and it's not even wet food mixed with dry anymore. We're just getting dry, and maybe you deserve that. You needy little fuck.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't really listening to the last couple minutes. I was busy drawing you as the soy jack going taxis in Korea and pointing at it in an awestruck stupor.
That would be good episode art for this one.
It's tempting. I've been let's say I've been doing a lot of soy jack style art for a project recently that you guys will find out soon.
Yeah, and on one thing to wrap this up with, although we have some treats.
I did have one last thought, which is I do kind of, as much as I think all this stuff is kind of coming into an end, I do hope we get the one last little innovation, which is a lot of these meal delivery apps moving to like little drones and like delivery robots that move people's food in a locked box. I know they've tried to make that happen, but I really want to see them put a lot of money into that and like really roll them out in mass, because I think it'll be valuable training for what needs to be done. To prepare people, because those robots and those drones are gonna get mugged and taken apart like crazy.
Yeah. Well, they already have been in the places they like tested them out, and it's really funny to see people just like assaulting like some little fucking robot rolling down the sidewalk, and people are just fucking karate kicking the motherfucker.
I don't know if this is too Canadian. Maybe you've heard of it. Did you hear about that little? It wasn't a robot. It was like a statue, a puppet somebody built. It was like the hitchhiking robot that made it all the way across Canada, and then it went to the U.S. and went to like Detroit, and it was immediately fucking trashed or something. That's what's gonna happen to all of those bots.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, people will indict the U.S. for that, but like, you know, I think in a sense that it's kind of a reflection of a little grimier society, which is okay. You know, I think we can get a little grimy when people are pissed off, and then they see a robot walking down the street, and they're just like, you know, I'm gonna kick that motherfucker. I'm gonna kick this robot.
Do you know the fucking like the scary ass Boston Dynamics robot dog, which they immediately strapped a gun to like kill fucking people in Palestine or whatever?
Yeah,
I saw they took that robot frame and they attached like an exterior like costume to it to be like the little cute dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, and it's like doing tricks and performing and stuff at Disneyland or something. And I really remember this one tweet that was talking about that, and it went something like, I know this is hard, but all of you need to harden your hearts and like destroy these things on sight. And I'm like, yeah.
No, and that's the thing. They're gonna dress them up, and like androids I don't think are ever going to be a thing, just because they're kind of like it's kind of impractical, except in the sense that you're going to like see it, you're gonna humanize it if it looks like a human, but like most people hate other humans, but if you make it a dog, that's an epic heckin' doggerino. Even though it's like unleashing a flamethrower on a child, but like that's wholesome. That's a wholesome doggo. But so don't.
I mean, with a dog, you're gonna have to like work extra hard to like overcome the uncanny valley. That's why I think they're probably just gonna be like more of the fucking Disney dragon or whatever, where it's like, it just has to look like the 3D model. It doesn't have to look like a real creature. But
I mean, if I see Donald Duck walking down my street trying to pull people's papers, I have no problem just blasting that dude in the head with a whatever I have handy, tire iron, baseball bat. I don't have.
Yeah, and then you'll get arrested for brutally like killing some poor college theater kid that was working at Disneyland as a summer king.
Yeah. It's
stop! He's already dead.
Yeah, it's the Tesla SpaceX bot where they're like, yeah, we invented this robot, and it's just like a dude in like a Donald Duck suit. I'm just like, I'll give this robot a test of its metal, and then I just like smash it, and it's just like a poor Bangladeshi immigrant who's wearing like a fucking Power Rangers costume. Oh god. See, I would feel bad about that, but really it would be Elon's fault. So So
True. He
yeah.
made you do this.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, you're bad. Really, you're bad for working for Elon. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
yeah.
True. In the spirit of making Dave do things, I think we should wrap up the episode and say thank you to our patrons today.
Oh, we have patron. Oh yeah, we do.
We have a couple
Okay.
of those. We haven't lost all of them yet.
Yeah, they haven't been too upset by our
the
hot
ones
takes.
the ones who are still there are preparing for what needs to be done.
Soldiers of God. And in no particular order for these soldiers of God. We have Nick, Brina, Weasel, Heresy, Nilly, Protagon, Patty, Clam, and Walker. Oh my God. You all, you're all great people. And that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah, thanks so much to all of you guys. Remember, next time we meet in person at the destination, they can't arrest all of us.
Yeah, I'm envisioning all of us in a circle with whatever improvised tools we found, just bashing
Some
the
surprise
shit out
tools
of
that will help us later.
yeah, just bashing the shit out of Donald Duck. Just oh man, his little robot body is just gonna be a hunk of metal.
It's going to hurt me because I know Donald Duck is like a war veteran and he fought the Nazis, but like this is not him. This is his corpse being puppeteered by malicious actors, and it needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I fuck with Donald Duck, but that's exactly the thing. They're gonna try to get me with that. I like Donald Duck in Mathmagic Land, but I don't like him, rounding people up for the gulag. I don't like it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a weird direction for that cartoon to take. But anyway, let's wrap it up, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week, and keep your eyes peeled because we have a new surprise. We have a new kind of thing that will be on the channel soon. So please look for it's like 50-50 if it'll be up by the time we're recording this and posting it. But something's coming. Something is gonna happen. Be ready for it. Be ready for what needs to be done. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Well, I think it should be up. Because we're almost done with that. But anyways, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Good fight. Good night.